Hi pen fans, this is Brian at edisonpen.com. It's Friday, so I'm putting off a video blog. This week I'm going to cover flushing pens. I have a method that actually someone told me about and I thought it was the best. Over the last, I suppose, 4 or 5 years, I've always been looking for the best way to flush pens, the most effective and the fastest, and I think that I found it. If anybody knows a better way than what I'm about to tell you, reach out to me, but here's my favorite way to flush pens. Okay, this is where I do all of my nib flushing here in my shop. Now, I don't have a sink out here, so this method doesn't require running water necessarily. I keep clean water in here. Any place that you have clean water, this will work. So let me show you how I go about this, alright? Okay, so here we are in the parts washer. Originally when I started making pens and doing pens on a production basis, the way that I would flush my nibs after tuning them is I would just simply put them under running water like this, and I would just allow the water to go through the section, go through the ink, or I'll use this as an example. I would just simply let water go through the back of the section until it came out the front clear. And there's nothing at all wrong with that. You can do that. It's perfectly fine. But it does take a while. The water doesn't go through the feed very fast, and it's not a real super fast way to do it. And you're just relying on gravity. You don't really get too much force behind it. A lot of people, you might be using a converter. You just simply grab a converter and twist back and forth. You could take a converter just like this, twist back and forth until the ink comes out clear, and that's fine too, but that also takes forever. Then at one point I found these slider converters. Basically, this is a converter that has a piston that works on a slide mechanism, and I kind of like that because I could put that on here and I could slide the piston fast, and I could get that ink to move quickly, and I could get it to work out just fine. Then at one point I evolved to a water pick. I actually had a water pick that you clean your teeth with. I would just shoot the water pick back in the back of the nib, saturate the feed with water, shoot some water in there, and I found that was okay. But the problem, if I could give you a close-up of the walls over here, I was spraying ink everywhere. I don't know that I would recommend that in someone's bathroom because you're going to spray ink all over the bathroom. So eventually I evolved to this. This is what's called a bulb aspirator. I believe that it's used for cleaning out kids' noses primarily, maybe also ears. I'm actually not sure, quite honestly. My wife always took care of that kind of thing with our youngster. But you can get these at Amazon. I think they're less than $3, maybe even around $2. I'll put a link up to these. But essentially what this is doing is allowing you to get a lot of ink through a saturated feed and nib very quickly. It's very effective, and the neat thing is this nozzle right here is the perfect diameter to fit on the back of the nipple of an international, what should I say, a housing that takes an international cartridge. So this is not just good for your Edison pens, but also good for any pen that uses an international cartridge or that has a fitting that's going to be about the size of the nozzle of this aspirator. So flushing, here's a nib feed that is well saturated with ink, and it really takes me hardly any time at all to get this cleaned out. The nozzle fits right on the back of the section and right into the back of the housing, and I squeeze, and I can use a real good amount of force to get all the ink out of there. I usually squirt a little bit on the front of the nib, but literally with about 2 squeezes I've got perfectly clean water coming out of that. The nib is completely flushed. If anybody has better methods, let me know, but this is how I've kind of evolved. Basically that's it. It only takes 1, maybe even 2 squeezes to get that ink completely out. If you have a bulb filler of mine, remember the last video that I did on bulb filler maintenance. Essentially, you don't need to disassemble your bulb filler. You can flush it just simply by using the bulb mechanism. But if you want to disassemble, let's say that this is your section on the bulb filler, right there's the breather tube. Well, guess what? The breather tube fits down into this aspirator perfectly. Bring that right up to the nib and flush the pen, or I'm sorry, flush the nib. Again, there's about one squeeze. I kind of like to give it a little bit across the feed, and it's completely flushed out. So, like I said, if anybody has a better method, let me know. But over the years of trying a lot of different ways to flush nibs effectively and quickly, this is the best that I've come up with. Okay, everybody have a good weekend. See ya.